God used to tell me, hey man, I want to use you, but don't force me. You're not the only one. The work will get done with or without you.
100%.
My parents really prayed for me. My mum was like, if you go to that uni, you will get somebody pregnant. You will stay in it. I went off the rails and I went too far. But sometimes you need to have these experiences to really understand yourself and who you are. So I literally went from one of the lowest moments ever in getting a third class and in the same year being the youngest financial advisor in Barclays in the country. So, and that's God. I know who my father is. And I know that he loves me. And he knew me by name, and he knew me when I was a clot of blood in my mother's womb. And so my value doesn't come from the clothes that I wear or the things that I buy. I'm already valuable. Yeah. Because I'm a child of God. What's really helped for me, even in this time, is being married. For me, I knew when I married my wife, I knew the type of person she was somebody that I know I could be in the trenches with, but I could also enjoy the high life with. Yes, I'm on a council estate. Yes, I'm growing up in poverty. Yes, my parents are struggling. Yes, we're just trying to get by. Yeah. That's my current. But where am I going to?
Welcome back to the Come See podcast. We are in season 2 and it feels good to be back with you. My name is Emmanuel Asuquo. I am your host and I'm excited about our guest today. So my guest today is the People's Financial Advisor. He empowers individuals, families, and businesses towards financial independence. He has graced major media platforms and served as a financial expert on BBC Radio, Channel 4, and ITV, just to name a few, putting him in the homes of millions of viewers across the UK. He's also an author and the founder of the E-Man Effect. Welcome to the Come See podcast, Emmanuel Asuquo.
Hey.
Welcome.
Hey.
Thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you for having me.
I'm excited to talk faith. I'm excited to talk finance.
Sure.
I've seen you dropping gems, sharing financial wisdom on various platforms, but I think we're privileged to have you talk about your faith as well. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about your upbringing, your life journey. I think I saw there was a day on LinkedIn you talked about a council estate.
Yeah.
Tell me about your growing up.
Yeah, so I grew up in Tower Hamlets, East London, on a council estate place called Limehouse, which is really, really close to Canary Wharf.
Yeah.
So I'm the oldest child. So I've got 2 younger sisters. Both my parents were born in Nigeria, so I'm the first in my family to be born here in the UK. So obviously we know the pressure that comes with that. Yeah. And went to school, Bow Boys Secondary School, so not very good school. So my secondary school, the pass rate for 5 A to C's before my year was 5%.
Wow.
My year
5 A to C's.
5%.
5%.
So you're more likely to go to prison than you are to go to university. And my year, they put us in the newspaper because we got 12 or 13%. And it was like we doubled the but now it's they've moved, they've got funding. It's a what do you call an academy? So they've got money now. They've got table tennis in the playground, and I was like, hey, you're enjoying
luxuries.
Yeah, you're enjoying. But so it was that type of environment. Obviously, growing up, Tower Hamlets, East London, it's the home of grime. So everybody wanted to be a rapper or MC, or my school, Ashley Cole. He played for Arsenal, went to my school, so everyone thought that they could follow in his footsteps and be a footballer or play basketball. So we all love basketball. So there wasn't that ambition to say I'm going to work in corporate or I'm going to work in finance or whatever. It was just get by. It's the normal stuff in living in those environments. If you get caught on the wrong bus in the wrong school uniform, now you got to fight for your life. Yeah, that's the type of environment.
Crazy.
And parents don't have a clue.
No, because I sent you to school.
They think it's like back home in Africa, like you just go, kids go.
Come home.
I told people, like, when I was year 7, I'll go to school by myself. That's taking 2 buses to get to school. I'd have to come home, warm rice. I'll pick my sisters from primary school. Like, we were just doing it because parents was working. They didn't have time to.
They were surviving.
How would they pick us up? Like, so even driving wasn't even something. So it's just a different world. So you had to grow up quick. and had to have your mind straight.
Wow. Crazy, because I think the perception, especially for our parents' generation, is that the fact that your feet are in the UK,
Yeah.
you're privileged.
Mm.
And anything that happens thereafter, just take it on the chin.
Yeah.
Because you're blessed to even be here. They've run around just to get you here. And so when you share the realities of, I know what it is to navigate having to get those 2 buses. And sometimes it's life or death.
Come on.
Those 2 buses.
Those 2 buses.
Because they never choose a school down the road.
No.
It's never a school down the road. It's one where you have to be ducking and diving, and after 6 p.m. you can't be in this area, and
exactly
all this
that
kind of stuff.
Exactly that.
I grew up in Southeast London, on the other side, but equally the same kind of situations. I think the past I had was the fact that I was a girl.
Yes.
But I had male friends who equally, after 6, you're not in any. You better be in your ends and nowhere else.
Exactly that.
So how did you avoid falling into the traps of, like, gang culture, youth violence, crime? How did you avoid that?
I think a few things. I think number one, I was very blessed that I was funny. So because I was funny, everyone got on with me. I got on with everyone. And obviously I played basketball as well.
Okay.
So I used to play basketball for the years above me as well. So and so because of that, I used to get on. I used to know the elders and so forth. So when it comes to, like, I never had a fight. I never had to have that type of energy. Do you know what I mean? And people knew my mum was a real aff. Like, my mum will come to the school. She will. So they know what I'm dealing with. When people like, you man, your mum's crazy. You got. And I'm lucky that, again, I had a good friend, like one of my good friends, Wesley. His estate was next to mine. Okay. So we used to bump into each other on the way to school in the morning. And so, like, when he was more into that type of stuff, he would always be like, "Oh no, leave him to go," because my mum would see him and be like, "Wesley, make sure Emmanuel comes home." And that's how she just so protective. I'm her only son, only boy, like, and oldest child as well. So she always used to be so protective. So because of that, people used to just give me a blight. I played sport. It just wasn't in my character. Do you know what I mean? So people just let me off, and that kind of made that. And then my cousin, he was in Brixton. Oh. And so
you had a big cousin in Brixton.
I had a younger cousin, but obviously he had older brothers. Older brothers, but he was in Brixton, and so I used to go to Brixton, and obviously he was living a different life. Do you know what I mean? And he would just be like, "Hey man, like, it's not you." When people just identify, like, you hang with us, you're cool with us, whatever, but it's not you. You're not that guy. Do you know what I mean? So don't feel like you have to be. And I was very blessed. I thank God, because a lot of people, even if you're not that guy, if you hang with these people, they'll force you to. Yeah. But with me, they were always like, "Nah, man, it's not you. It's not your character." Obviously, people knew my dad was always going to church, and if my dad would drop some of my friends from school, they would hear gospel music in the car, and even Nigerian praise. Do you know what I mean? Praise and worship. So they would know, like, the type of family that I have. Even the fact that I had both mum and dad was something that people respected. Do you know what I mean?
Wow,
so
deep.
I just got let off. I just thank God that it was a covering.
And I think I know somebody else who had a similar situation. He grew up in Peckham, and because again, mum and dad were still together. Yeah. Very Christian household, and so even though he was cool with the boys on the streets, they would be like, "Nah, you're not. That's not you." They would be like, and I think it's almost like their parents' prayers were covering them.
No, definitely. I that thing about parents' prayers, I always tell people, like, my parents really prayed for me so much, to the point where even when I went astray, as I got into my teenage years and started to make money and started to do, I would come home at 1:00 in the morning. Ooh. My parents would be praying, and they were calling my name.
Wow.
So they'll be praying, like, "God, help this boy, even though he's lost, even though he's there. I know you're protecting him. I know you'll bring him back to Christ. You'll bring him back onto the road." I'd be like, wow. So, and then my name's Emmanuel. So no matter what someone was told your name, God is with us.
Mm.
So no matter how and that's why your name is, the name that you're given is so important, because I couldn't run away from my name.
Yeah.
I am who I am. So
Yeah.
I always knew God is with us. God is with us. Every Christmas there's a song with your name in it. Like
you can't dissociate from the Christian faith.
You can't.
It's in your name.
It's in my name. So those things are really important.
So you talk about falling off or making money, but falling off from the kind of straight and narrow. Talk me through that season of rebellion.
Yeah, so like you said, my parents come from Nigeria, right? So the shoe is shoe, clothes is clothes. Oh. This is what they had to go through. Like they didn't even have this stuff.
Yeah.
So I used to get my stuff from the market.
Wow.
So no JD Sports, no, none of that. It was from the market, no latest. So I used to wear ascots. I used to, instead of when people have kickers, I had US brass. So man was getting it. Like I was
but you were funny. So
I was fun, but I was getting roasted. Right. So then I had to learn how to cuss, like, because I know I was that guy that when someone else is getting cussed, like they'll be like, I know you're not laughing, and then they'll switch it onto you to take it off them. Do you know what I mean? So because of that, it always made me want to drive to say like, oh, I need to make money. Yeah. Because my parents can't afford to give me the type of clothes that I need. Yeah. So I started hustling. Like I used to sell clothes at church. So one of my boys had some money. I was like, look, you buy them, and then I've got the network at church. So I used to get my dad to at the end of church to bring the car around, open the boot. I used to sell like a Visu and like all these jeans,
and then you get a cut from the proceeds.
Come on. So then we
businessman.
Exactly. So we're getting back his money, and then we'll split the profit. Yeah. And that's how we hustled. I used to wash cars. I used to do whatever it took to make money, like, and then as I started to make money, then I was just like, no, this is it. Because money gives you freedom. I could do stuff for my mom, and like I remember my dad wasn't really on this romance thing. So I remember one Valentine's Day, I was like, Mom, I'm taking you for a meal on Valentine's Day. Like, you're my first ever proper Valentine. And just money gave you option to be able to do stuff. Do you know what I mean? And like my sisters, for example, when they started school, I was able to buy them stuff so they didn't have to get bullied and stuff like that. So those were the types of things that money enabled. And then as I then got a job, so I got my first job in Marks and Spencer's, because my dad at 18, like my 18th birthday, happy birthday. The day after, now you must get a job. I'm talking the next day.
Why wasn't so you went to college?
I went to college, Leighton Sixth Form College. So I went to college in Leighton.
Okay. And then did you uni?
I went uni, Greenwich University.
Okay, so you're in uni now.
I'm in uni.
And your dad's like, get a job.
Get a job, straight. So I got a job, Marks and Spencer's. So I was doing both. Then and sometimes it feels like a pain. Even going to uni, my parents didn't let me go away. I was meant to go to Brunel. They was like, no.
And so you can go and
my mum was like, if you go to that uni, you will get somebody pregnant. Ooh. You will stay in it. She said it straight. She didn't hesitate. She said it straight.
I mean, she's not lying.
She wasn't lying.
People were doing a madness away from home.
She wasn't lying. So, and I think, to be honest, I didn't have the maturity to be away from home. So I was at home. So Greenwich University, stayed at home, and then I was able to work, and then I got a job in the bank. But my going astray was, as I started to make more money, it was like that rebellion, because as much as it's great to have, Christian parents and discipline, sometimes the restriction is so much that the second you get a little, you just go, you just take it so far. And so then I would just stay out. So I'd go to work, and then I wouldn't come home. I would just stay after work and so forth. And then I used to, obviously uni them times, I was in uni 3 days. I used to work 3 days. Yeah. So the only day, obviously Sunday, you can't work on Sunday.
Yeah.
Hey, you try.
In a Nigerian house.
You try. Do you know what I mean? Sunday's for God. So he's at church. But yeah, that was the real rebellion stage. And, I can truly say that, I went off the rails and I went too far. But sometimes you need to have these experiences to really understand yourself and who you are. And I think that's where I kind of started to find who I am and realize that, and the scripture that says, to show a child a way, and no matter what, they won't depart from it. So as much as I tried to, I don't drink. So much I'm in the club, I don't drink.
Wow.
I'm buying.
But then when you're talking about you went off the rails, I'm like, how did you go off the rails without, you weren't drinking, you weren't...
I was staying out late, I was hanging with the wrong people.
Do you think because of the kind of foundation that you had,
your conscience
was so awaken to the fact that I'm not meant to be here.
Of course.
And so when you're talking about off the rails, I mean, I've heard other people's off the rails, and it, I mean,
it can never be like that because of where I've come from, right?
Yes.
And also remember, I think the most important thing for me was Sunday school. So I've got a group of people that I've been in Sunday school with. So where you might have your college, secondary school friends, I've got this group of people, we're the same age, and we're going secondary school together, we're going through college age together, university age together. So we just always stay close because of church. So imagine having this group, even till today, we've known each other since Sunday school, since we were like, 8, 9, do you know what I mean? And now we're all here, grown adults. We've got our kids are now the same age. So it's one of those things where having that group, when you say go off the rails, it's not compared to my friends at secondary school, whatever. It's compared to my Christian friends that are like, actually, this is the way it's supposed to be, and so forth. So
yeah. So when you talk about discovering yourself whilst you were going off and kind of being disobedient, being a bit of a prodigal son, if you like.
Yeah, definitely.
What did you learn about yourself, like, and how did you restore that kind of narrow path? How did you get back on track?
You know what I realized doing it when I went off the rails is that God has chosen me for a purpose. I feel like I could be in a club, I could be music, girls, drinks, and I could still hear God talking to me. I could still hear God saying, "Amen." To say, and I know it's not my voice.
Yeah.
So it's not me thinking it in my head.
Yeah.
I know that God is talking to me like, no,
what are you doing?
No matter how much you try, I've got a plan for you.
Wow.
I've got a purpose for you. And then even imagine, like, it got to the point where it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And so, it didn't feel like it was for me. And yet God was still, God just kept opening doors. People would speak words to me, and then weeks later, it would happen. And God continued to talk to me, and I just felt like I've got something so special. And then I remember, I never forget this. It was because I wasn't officially a youth leader, but I was a youth leader. In the church. So I wasn't like under a title, minister or whatever, but I used to teach the youth.
Yeah.
So especially the teenage youth.
Okay.
We called them the Crusaders. So once you reach like 12, 13, till you get to uni age, till 18, you'd go to a separate place from church, and I was one of the teachers.
Okay.
And I remember going through this phase where I was being disobedient, and one of my uncles, obviously from church, he would just be like, even though you're not a youth leader, if the youth follow you, you're a youth leader. You lead the youth by your example.
Yeah.
And it's like, he then said, look at those who actually have the title of youth leader. When the young people are in trouble, are they calling them or are they calling you? Yeah. I'm literally having young people like, "E-man, I'm in prison. I need you to come get me out. E-man, I've just had this situation. Yeah. I've just crashed my car. I've done all of, and it's coming to me, and it's like,
they appointed you,
and it's like, how will I, like, as much as they feel like, because if you speak to them, they always talk about how the impact I had on them.
Yeah.
But I tell them actually the impact they had on me. They forced me in my rebellious stage, in my time where I wanted to only think about me, to understand the consequences and the responsibility God had laid on me for the youth. And it's like, I tell people now, people are like, "Oh, what's it like? You're a celebrity on TV." I always tell people, going to my church, I always felt like a celebrity. Because when I walk in there, everyone like, "Yo, E-man's here." I've always had that. I've always had that young people looking up to me. Always had that example, that role model. Yeah. I've always had the aunties that love me and want me to marry their daughter. I've always had that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in church, like I've always been that guy in church. So it just now is to the world. But I've always had it. I learned how to do everything in church: how to speak, how to rap, how to drama, how to the first time public speak. Everything, every skill that I do now, I learned in church. And it was like, for me, I understood that God was creating these paths for me, and people would go out of their way. So, like, for example, my uncle Moyo, who's Premier Gospel, yeah. So, and he was our choir leader at church.
Oh wow! Okay.
But he's been my uncle since I was small, and so obviously, people like him would take time out to talk to me and be like, "There's a calling on your life. There's things you got to do, and you got to change." And I remember one time I was out with a girl, and I get this text. I can see you.
Hey,
And it's
from
from Uncle Moyo. And I'm looking around and it's like, make sure you behave yourself and go. The way I just said, sorry, we've got to go home now. Just drove her to her house. I was like,
What?
listen, you're not safe anywhere. And I had loads of people in my life that just kept moving up. Even in work, I had people in workplaces that weren't from my background, had no reason to, but would favor me and would just say, man, there's something about you that I just want to help you. I just want to support you. I see something in you. And it was like, no matter how I tried to rebel against it, it was there. So I knew God had a calling for my life. And so that was what made me really have to focus.
What inspires me about your story is the faithfulness of God.
Yeah.
And I know some people will be watching and thinking, oh, he's God's favorite, basically. But the truth is, if we are all still enough to really observe our lives, those moments are happening all the time. Where somebody just favors you.
Yeah.
Or, an opportunity, a door opens unexpectedly. And it's about whether or not you're observant enough to see that the grace of God, the mercy of God at play, at work in your life. And I think because of the seeds that your parents had sown in you, you could see it. Where others would have been like, nah, they would have seen that text and be like, psh, whatever. Do you know what I mean? But for you, it convicted you.
Convicted me. And also I feel like I've heard God used to tell me, man, I want to use you, but don't force me. You're not the only one. Sometimes I always hear that word, the work will get done. Sometimes
100.
we feel like because God's given us a gift and because he's using us, that it has to be us. It doesn't have to be.
You're the one, you're indispensable.
It doesn't have to be you. The work will get done with or without 100%. You. I'd love to use you.
Yeah.
I'd love to use you.
Yeah.
I created you for this moment. But if you choose not to, we've all got free will. Else. I will bring somebody else. The work will be done.
Yeah.
And so when I realized, listen, the work will be done. And then I said to myself, what's my biggest fear? And I think this is one thing I always tell people. What's your biggest fear? For me, my biggest fear was being in a room watching somebody do what I was supposed to be doing. Wow. My biggest fear was to go to an event and see somebody standing on stage delivering the message I'm supposed to be delivering, yet I'm in the audience watching it, realizing that I'm not there because I chose not to fulfill my potential. I chose not to do the work. And because of that, I said, I'd rather be embarrassed. I'd rather make mistakes. I'd rather it go wrong, but me try to get there than me not do what I need to do and watch somebody else live my dream.
Yeah, and live a life of what if.
Come on.
Or once upon a time I was, when you tell your children, your daddy was very... Your daddy was a speaker when he was, but they're seeing you live and direct. You're still, you chose the path that God ordained for you. And I hope it inspires those listening and those watching, that one, even if you have gone, of course, it's not too late to come back.
Exactly.
And two, don't take God's grace for granted because the work will get done.
The work, trust me.
Regardless.
It's so powerful what you're saying. And I think it's so important for people to also understand that, like, I went to secondary school. I told you the school I went to. I left with 4 GCSEs. I went to college. I got a CDE. I went to university. I got a 3rd class.
Woo!
Yet today, when BBC, ITV, Channel 4, Barclays Bank, any of them want to talk to the country about finance, they call me. So understand, God can use you no matter what the world says about you. When God says it's you, it's you. Do you know what I mean? And it's not, I now spend my time educating people, me that failed in education. But actually it was a motivation because when it came to doing my professional exams, I passed all of them and they're all like 70% pass mark. So it was just a motivation. And that's why I'd always talk to people about understanding your learning skills, how you take information, how you learn, because it might not be the way that it's done at school and so forth. And I understand that for you. But also, what are you motivated for? Because the second I got the opportunity to become a financial advisor, get the car that I wanted, the company car, the credit card, the big title, I was ready to read book. But ask me to read book before that, I wasn't motivated.
There was no incentive.
Yeah. And that's why, for me, I always look back and say, my journey was the way it was supposed to be, but I'd never tell my children they have to go uni or they have to do what you want to do to get to your goal, whatever it takes to get to your goal, because you're going to put the right amount of effort for the thing that you want. It doesn't feel like work. Yeah. And I'm so blessed today. I don't really work. Like
Yeah.
I literally do what I
I
love
hear that.
and get paid for it.
I hear that.
And I can do that. I'll do it for free.
I hear that.
I'd give one-to-one for free. I'd help
100%.
people with their finance for free.
100%.
So how much more when I get paid?
100%. 100%. That resonates with me so strongly, because I think one of the things that dawned on me a few years ago was how many of us sacrifice, not even a few years ago, recently, how many of us sacrifice pleasure, living a fulfilled life for striving and struggling and just endurance. And like, I feel like that's a narrative that our parents had to experience.
Yeah, of course.
They didn't have the choices we have.
Of course.
But when your parents have made those sacrifices, why are you repeating the cycle?
Yeah.
When you don't have to. And I love your alphabetical grades, your C, D, E, F.
Trust me.
Want to do the whole alphabet.
I got it all.
I've never heard, when you said you got a third, I said, oh, wow, okay.
Imagine, in a Nigerian household.
Hey, you can't even say, my son went to university, because you'd just be like...
The anger. But then at the same time, before you know,
That's amazing.
I'm the youngest financial advisor in Barclays in the country.
That's
Literally.
amazing.
Like we went from, I graduated. The second I graduated, I got a job as financial advisor. So I literally went from one of the lowest moments ever in getting a third class and having that to, in the same year, being the youngest financial advisor in Barclays in the country. So, and that's God.
Talk to us about that kind of pivoting career kind of approach. I'm sure you kind of stumbled your way through it.
Yeah.
Whereas now you can tell us how to do it. But I'm sure you weren't like, this is the plan.
No. I like I said, because I grew up on a council estate, and my perspective is different. I always talk about looking for, like, we all have sight, but we don't all have vision. And for me, it was about having a vision beyond my situation. So my vision was the buildings in Canary Wharf. So I was in a council estate. You know, I remember leaving the light on in the kitchen and getting in trouble. And then I remember looking out the window at night and seeing all the buildings in Canary Wharf. All the lights are on, everyone's gone home. And me thinking, right, these guys must be rich. And so that became my vision board. I think it's so important not to have, yes, I'm on a council estate. Yes, I'm growing up in poverty. Yes, my parents are struggling. Yes, we're just trying to get by.
Yeah.
That's my current. But where am I going to? And when your vision is where you're going to rather than when you're at, you stop looking at the excuses and just start finding solutions. And so I focused on getting to those buildings. And so for me, it was getting to those buildings, because once I get there, there's opportunity. So I became a cashier. Got in a bank. Just got in. And then once I finished my degree, I found the different jobs. I didn't even know what a financial advisor was. I found out when I was in the bank that, okay, these are the roles. I could have been a mortgage broker. I could have been a relationship manager. I could have been a financial advisor. I could have been a branch manager. I chose financial advisor, and because I felt that suited me and my skill set and what I wanted to do. And so that then led. And again, it's about looking at your skill set. I know I'm a people person. I love helping people. I love speaking to people. I love being around people. So that help financial advisor, those are the skills that match. And so I was able to do that. But then even doing it was like, I'm just helping rich people get richer. It's a crazy dynamic, because I'll go from working in the city, helping someone go from 3 million to 5 million, and then I'll go back to my council estate at my mum's house, and it's like, people are struggling for £5.
Yeah.
So it's like, I was like, no, who's here to help these people? And that's again where sometimes your background, which you might feel embarrassed about, can actually become your superpower.
Come on.
Because the reason I'm here and elevated to this level is not because I'm the smartest financial advisor, it's because I was able to see the need of a people from my background and bring a skill to it that other people ignored.
Yeah.
And so when I started to give financial advice to everyday person, they were telling me, well, you want to give financial advice to poor people? That's not a very good business model. That's what my peers were telling me. And now those same peers tell everyone how we used to work together and I'm their claim to fame. So it's so important that it's your vision. Sometimes you'll tell people, this is what I want to do. And they'll be like, no, that don't make sense. Or it's okay. It's not their vision. They're not supposed to see it. But when it comes to fulfillment, they'll understand.
They'll be like, we rub shoulders.
Come on. I was there. I was talking to him at the time. That was a good guy.
Yeah.
I like him. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's your vision. So you go and execute it and other people will catch up.
Amen. Amen. It's your vision. It's your vision. Oftentimes there are those who follow the crowd.
Yeah.
And there are those who pay too much attention to the crowd as well.
Yeah.
Who listen to the crowd and
Yeah.
they allow the crowd to suffocate, kill their dreams.
Exactly.
You know? How did your parents feel about your kind of unusual career path? Were they supportive? Were they kind of skeptical? What was their view?
Yeah, I think they were very proud at first. You know, it was very proud. Obviously, I've got this job, 22. I've got a company car. So all of a sudden,
you've made it too.
I've now got brand new BMW. They delivered it on a truck.
Woo!
Delivered the car on the truck to my house. So it was like,
you've arrived.
I've arrived. Like this guy, I'm working for Barclays Bank, one of the biggest banks in the world. Do you know what I mean?
What more do you want?
What do you want? Obviously, they can tell everybody my son's a banker.
Works in a bank.
So for them, it was, and then obviously, then in church, people will start coming to me asking me for help on this, financial tips. Oh, I know you work in a bank. Can you get this, get this? So all of a sudden, it was like, oh, this guy that was failing is now a success.
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell people, failure and success, they're not the opposite. They coincide. Like, you understand? Sometimes you have to. I've literally failed my way to success. Like, I've literally failed and failed and failed. And I always tell people, if you take a test and you fail the first time, you take the same test the second time. By the fifth time, you're like, I've seen this question before.
You're an expert.
I've seen it. It's not that you're better. You just failed enough times to know, okay, this is what's right, this is what's wrong, and find a way. And I think that's how I've got through life. And that's why I feel like people relate to my journey and my story because they've seen it. Like literally they saw it from the first social media video. Imagine me doing videos on social media. Even when I was doing videos on social media, my parents were like, oh, you know, man, are you not going to get a job? Like, and I'm like, listen.
A proper job.
This is it. Like, you know, they want you to get a proper job. You're not going to go back. Because there was a point where I was like, I'm not going back to the banks. I'm going to just do this on social media. And they were like skeptical because, again, I can't expect my parents to teach me what they were never taught. So if they are always taught, go to work, go to school, get your education, get a job, saving your pension, and then retire, that's all they're going to teach me.
Yeah.
So when I now start talking about being an entrepreneur and being a business owner,
what?
How?
You don't want to work?
With a wife and children, you're not responsible.
Yeah.
And then that year, I'll never forget, 2019, I got made redundant. I'm like, I'm not going back. My mom was like, every day I spoke to my mom, Emmanuel, when will you get a job? Are you going to get a job? Are you doing your CV? Are you going for interview? I'm like, Mom, I'm doing this. By August 2019, so this was March, by August 2019, I got my first TV show with Channel 4.
Wow.
Just focusing on doing the content, putting it out. And then we had 2020 lockdown, so everyone's talking about finances. Then we had George Floyd.
Yeah.
And they were like, we need black person to talk about finance. Oh, I know. There's the guy from that TV show. I've not sat down since. Crazy. And I always tell people, I know that what happened to George Floyd, I always bring him up because I know that his death gave me an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I always want to make sure his name is remembered. Do you know what I mean?
People an opportunity.
Gave me an opportunity. But I always said that I'll come in as the Black Martin Lewis. That's what they call me, the Black Martin Lewis. But before you know, I'll just be the financial advisor. And now I'm just Emmanuel Asuquo, financial advisor, not compared to anyone else. And so sometimes you got to take the opportunity, but you got to do the work and put it in. And so I always mention George Floyd because it was such a sad travesty that happened. But that man's life, him and obviously Stephen Lawrence, those are two people's lives that have made a change for all of us. And so it's so important that, you know, we always remember them remember how we got these opportunities.
100%. Let's talk about finance and faith in terms of the church. So I did ask people to send in some questions, and one of the questions someone asked was in relation to tithing.
I knew you was going to say it.
You knew?
I knew before. The second you said finance and church, I said, I know what's coming.
What is your view on tithing? What is your view? Where do you stand?
I think it's an essential. just from forget from a Christian point of view, from a common sense point of view. You go to a place every Sunday, at least every Sunday. When you go there, there's a chair that you sat on.
Come on.
When you go there, the lights are on.
Heating.
It's heating. You even maybe when you go there now, there might even be food.
Some snacks.
There might be. Do you understand? Even the building itself.
Yeah.
There's a rent to pay, or there's a mortgage to pay, or we want to buy the building. So, to provide you with a service, there's a cost.
Yeah.
So why would you not want to contribute if you're getting benefit?
Tell them.
Why would you not want to contribute to the space that you're benefiting from?
Yeah.
And it's not saying that it's all in your head, but because we're all here, it's a community. I feel like what type of person, like when you really deep it, what type of person will just continuously go somewhere and gain benefit and never would continue to reap, but will never sow where they reap?
Yeah.
If we all did that, there'd be nothing to reap.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So for me, tithing is a fundamental part of actually how is this place going to function financially? And then again, the thing is, and again, if you don't tithe, what happens then? Is it one person sponsoring it? Because again, if it's one person sponsoring it, now it's a dictatorship. The good thing for me I feel about tithing is that because we all put our money in, we all have a say.
Yeah.
We're all able to speak. We're all able to contribute. We all have a voice in this space because we all contribute to this space. And so even in the church, and again, in the church that I grew up in, before anything is spent, they'll come to the congregation.
Yeah.
We're thinking of doing this.
What
do you think? Shall we do this? Shall we not do this?
Yeah.
Oh, should we do? And if you're going to do it, are you prepared to contribute? It's a conversation because you're in an environment. So for me, tithing is essential.
Yeah.
Just like how we pay tax.
Come on. Like Jesus said, because some people quote where Jesus talks about give Caesar
of course
what belongs to Caesar. And they're like, well, he didn't say anything about tithe. He just said give Caesar. But then the logic that you place behind it is basically what's being echoed.
Exactly.
There. That, if you're going to reap something from a specific community, a context, then you should contribute to the sustenance of that community.
And it talks about in when we talk about the talents. And the one that got the talent and just kept it under the bed.
Buried it.
Yeah. And came back. And master wasn't happy. And for me, it's a case of, like I said, for my tithing, my contribution to being in that space, I got so much more back.
Yeah.
The skills 100%. I learned, the opportunities I got, the connections that I made, the network that I have. Like, I see people, it's their birthday, they're struggling to get 10, 20 people to... You see me, I have the other problem. Who will I invite? Wedding, when I went to get married, till today, people are still upset they didn't come to my wedding.
Oy.
We had 500 people.
Woo.
And people are still upset. So you have that network, you have that community.
Yeah.
Like, my father passed away towards the end of last year. If you know how many people came to our house. Oh my goodness. Sometimes when something bad happens to you in your life, is when you realize what community you have around you. And it's like, as sad as you were, the love was so much that even when you're in that state of grief, there was so much love poured into you. People people are trekking from all across the country just to come to the house to pay their respects for months and months, and not coming empty-handed. To the point when we did the burial, and then we had the ceremony, we had the celebration of life.
Yeah.
We didn't even need to bring drink. We didn't need to buy drink. The drink for the house, there was so much drink that people brought, food, the contribution, the love. And so to me, church is so much beyond the four walls. And so to contribute, it's an honor to be able to contribute to something that has contributed so much to me in my life. And
the reason why your dad was able to have that level of send-off is because he's contributed.
Exactly.
He's given what has been seen or unseen or whatever.
Exactly.
And they wanted to honor him.
Yeah.
So for those people who have not been paying your tithe, from today, start paying your tithe. What would you say are some of the biblical principles for financial wealth? What would you say? I know there's so many, but where do you think people can gain biblical wisdom when it comes to financial wealth?
I think there's so many key things that I teach that are basic Bible principles, So for me, the biggest thing is I always talk about, loving yourself and understanding who you are. Because remember, we live in a society that is about capitalism. It's about consumerism. So especially here in the UK where we don't really make anything.
Yeah.
You saw when we had the lockdown, when we came out, what did they do? They gave us vouchers to go and eat because they got to get us spending. Our society, the two things we have is our entertainment and so forth, and then financial services. Those are the two things here in the UK. So when the country needs to make money, they need you to go and spend. They need in order to do that, they need you to not value yourself, but get your value from the things that you can buy. And so for a lot of us, your value comes from the car that you drive, the area that you live in, or the house that you live in, or the holiday that you can go on, or whether you're in first class or economy or business or whatever it may be. And so what happens is because you get your value from these things, they always repeat. So I get a car and then I go out and then I see a better car. So now my next thing is I want another car. Nothing's wrong with the one I've got, but I just want better. And so because you forever get your value from the things, it's never enough. And that's how they win. Because your money that you work hard for, you're always giving it to somebody else.
Every year you must go on holiday.
Give it. And there's nothing wrong with, but which holiday? Where do you need to go? What is your holiday for your budget?
It has to be snazzy. It has to be 5-star. It has to be in your face.
Come on.
Can't be down the road.
And so even from the food, all of a sudden, I'm glad that Aldi and Lidl are now cool. When I was young, it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
You would take Tesco and Sainsbury's bags to go and buy Aldi and Lidl to hide your shame. But now we see Range Rovers in Audi.
The cost of living crisis has humbled everyone.
Everyone's humbled. Everybody has calmed down.
Yeah.
So it's like you take your value from all these things. So one of the key principles is that, I know who my father is. And I know that he loves me. And he knew me by name, and he knew me when I was a clot of blood in my mother's womb. And so my value doesn't come from the clothes that I wear or the things that I buy. I'm already valuable.
Yeah.
Because I'm a child of God. So I'm already valuable. And because I'm already valuable, I make things valuable. The car that I drive is valuable because I drive it, not the other way around. And so because of that, now the way you spend will be different. Understand the difference between what you need and what you want. Yeah. Because a lot of us focus on our wants.
Yeah, godliness with contentment is great game.
So we're always there, always looking at that. So understanding that, delayed gratification. So we live in a world of instant gratification, everything now. But actually understanding there's a sacrifice that needs to be made. Actually, and to me, I always compare that to reaping and sowing. When the farmer is in the land, even putting the seeds in the ground, you can look at that ground, you don't see anything.
Yeah.
But I've been working. And I go back and I water that, I plant that, I take away the weeds. I'm forever working on that.
Yeah.
There's a sacrifice that has to be made for the crops to rise. Yeah. And it's the same principle when we talk about delayed gratification. For you to get the lifestyle that you want, the life that you deserve, there has to be a sacrifice.
Yeah.
First, before, but we live in, I want to enjoy now. With no sacrifice and nothing.
And pay later.
And that's what people are. You get to retirement, there's no money. Yeah. You have to keep working. Or you wanna go on holiday, or you wanna do, there's no money. Now you're on credit card. Now you're in debt. Now you're trapped.
Yeah.
You're making payments every month to this credit. Like I've seen people who have gone on holiday and they're still paying for that holiday 3 years later.
Wow.
3 years afterwards. And they would have paid that holiday off 2-3 times. Whereas if they would have just gone on a holiday that they could afford, they could have gone every year.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. So, but I think for me, the biggest, like my main Bible verse that I always talk about is, Acts 20:24, finishing the race with joy. Like none of these things move me, nor do I count my life dear to myself, that I may finish this race with joy, with the gospel given to me by God to testify of God's wonderful kindness and love. And for me, it's about finishing the race with joy.
Yeah.
Actually, how many of us are going to get to that point where we can say we're going to finish the race with joy? You might finish the race, but did you do it with joy? The joy that you're serving your Father, you're doing the Lord's work. Like I wake up and I'm like, I wake up happy. And sometimes people are like, even when you're always happy, it's not that I'm always happy. Like I go through things in life.
But you're content.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like I know where I've come from.
Yeah.
I'm not in a council estate no more.
Yeah.
I'm not struggling. So I know where I've come from and I know what the impact. Like I go outside, I meet people every day that tell me, that video you did there, that made me change here. I meet people that managed to buy a house from watching your videos. I meet people that are able to to move and make differences because of my existence, because God gave me a gift and I chose to listen. Now I'm impacting lives. What is there not to be happy about? What is there not to have joy in?
100%.
So it's to finish the race with joy, and just understand that none of these things move me. Like, I'm not done by the awards. I'm not done by your celebrity, because today you're a celebrity. Tomorrow is somebody else. It doesn't move me. I'm not moved. I know why I do what I do. I know who I do it for. And that's why even social media, you will get criticism. You get praise, you'll get criticism. It doesn't, I'm not moved by either.
That's deep.
I'm just doing the Lord's work. I'm doing what God called me to do, and I'm having the impact God called me to have, and I'm changing the lives God called me to change. And that will continue to move me.
Amen. That's deep. Because I think people are enticed by the allure of, he's a celebrity financial advisor, he's a TV financial advisor. But this season that I've done my entrepreneurship, I was telling you since last year, one of the things that God has taught me, and I think I posted about it on LinkedIn, was that consistency, the reward of consistency is visibility. Yeah. But it can also be a reproach. Of course. If you are not doing it for the right reason, when that visibility finally comes, it can actually trap you. Of course. It can, some people, when they finally get to that podium, that place that they're trying to get to, it consumes them. Because they're doing it for the wrong reasons. So I'm really encouraged that you have such a solid Christ foundation. So now whenever I see you on ITV or Channel 4 BBC, I would like, dude, they don't know. The Spirit of the Lord is ministering through that man. Continue to, take his nuggets. But I know that the root, is Christ. The foundation is Christ. Yeah. That's really refreshing.
And I think what's really helped for me, even in this time, is being married. I always tell people that if I was me, single, it's impossible. Yeah. It's impossible to deliver what I'm supposed to deliver. So I think I'm lucky that I was married at 26. So people say it's young.
That's young for a man.
Yeah, it's young. Quite young for a man. But for me, because I became a financial advisor at 22, all my peers were in their late 40s, early 50s. They were all married with kids. So all my colleagues are married. So everybody I knew was married. So to me, it was natural to say, this is what because at the end of the day, I'm going to tell people to give me their life savings and invest it for them.
And you're a bachelor.
I'm a bachelor, just running around.
You don't understand the school run. You don't understand financial pressures.
People wouldn't be confident to say they could. So being married really helped. And obviously that discipline, and I think it's that discipline that a lot of men we lack, because a lot of men get our confidence and our ego boost is from how many women we're talking to, or we have it around us, and so forth. And so that can be so dangerous, especially once you get onto a public stage. Like for me now, and remember, being black as well, the standard is different. Yeah. So for me, I had to be qualified. Like there are financial experts right now. They're not qualified. They're just
good with money.
They're just good with money and they're sharing their tips. And that's good enough for them. For me to get on the same stage, I had to be an actual financial advisor for how many years, be qualified, experienced. I've had to be married, had kids. I had to tick so many boxes for them to say, okay, we can put you in the media. Do you understand? Yeah. And so even as I navigate, I have to always think to myself, like, you have to be careful, because anything comes out, anything happens. Do you know what I mean? So I'm so happy to be someone that I enjoy being in my house. I enjoy being with my kids. 100%. I can go out. My wife will come with me. We'll go. I'll give her the look. We'll just disappear.
It's time.
I've come. Exit. I'm in. I'm out. I don't have to. And because I've got that firm foundation, and even having my wife's discernment, the amount of things.
Oh, we are some discerning people.
That woman.
Women.
I tell you.
Sometimes we meet someone, we're like,
she does it too well, too often. Like she's got such an eye for it. Even opportunities, like I don't say yes to anything without my wife's approval.
Two are better than one.
And some people be like, but you're the man. And I'm like, listen, as much as I'm the man, whatever mistake I make, it affects
the family.
So why would I not include her in my? Why would I marry her to become one, and then I still try and be one? Yeah, I still have to try and make us be two. We're one. So for me, I remember there was a contract. One of these they wanted to do a show. They were like, can you sign now? I'm like, no. I have to go and tell my wife. I
How did they
appreciate
look
it.
at you that day?
You know what? The funniest thing is they respected it.
Wow.
People respect marriage. If you respect your marriage, people respect your marriage.
Yeah.
And even though it was I think it was Channel 4, one of these production companies that I was working for on the show, and I was just like, I'm so happy that you've selected me, but I need to first speak to my wife because again, you want me to film away.
Yeah, from home.
I've got kids.
Yeah.
So when I'm away, who's going to be looking after the kids? I need to make sure that she's available, that it works with her and so forth. Or if not, there might be things that I might need to put into the contract that we need to change and so forth.
Yeah.
So I need to speak to her. And just including her, makes it better. Because I think when I first started the business, I definitely was, she's got her own business, I've got my own business. And it causes tension.
Yeah.
Because you don't understand what the other person is going through.
Come
You think they're going to play. See, when I started to bring my wife, come to my meeting. Come and see babe, is this what you're going through?
Talk about it, boy.
Is this what you're going through? Okay, I understand. When I started saying, okay, you here's the logins to my emails. You reply to my emails. You see when she started seeing the emails?
Hours will start flying and it's like, oh, I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely exposing my husband. But when I first started this entrepreneur thing, my husband was like, so when are you starting work? Because he's an Igbo man, traditional Igbo man. So he's just like, when is the money going to be made? That's what I really care about.
Exactly.
But you're right. When you have to give them insight into what you're doing.
Exactly.
And the responsibility that comes with it, you can spend hours just responding to emails.
Yes,
it does happen. It doesn't mean like the day has been wasted and you've just done nothing all day. I think a question that I will not be forgiven if I don't ask as we close is about dating and finances, because I know there's a lot of people who are like, if he doesn't drive a car, if he's not, at least his job should be higher level than my job, and there's a lot of artificial motivations when they're trying, we're trying to find life partners.
Of course.
What advice would you give to those who are dating, single, in terms of financial wisdom when you're thinking about a life partner, when you're thinking about marriage?
I think definitely values over expectation. So you can expect my partner to be X tall, you can expect your partner to have X job, but what are their core values? For me, I knew when I married my wife, I knew the type of person she was somebody that I know I could be in the trenches with, but I could also enjoy the high life with. Either one. Sometimes we're trying to predict life. So you can marry someone that's in a good job, then they can get made redundant and they can then struggle to get another job. Then they can lose their confidence because their confidence came from their job. There were red flags already that you missed. And so and also that person can then start to have resentment towards you.
Yeah.
So then that affects that relationship. You see, with me and my wife, we've gone through it where when we married, I was making enough money in the bank. She didn't have to work. But I still said, look, do something. Just you went to uni, done a degree, you've done, do something. You're not gonna just sit there, have your own. No, you're not gonna come to me to ask me for money every 10 seconds. Do you know what I mean? So then she looked at what she did because she had the kids. She started her cake business. That business blew. Then remember I work in finance. We had a recession in 2007, 2008, 2009. You know how hard it was to get a job? Pay went down. I was struggling. There were times that cake money that I encouraged my wife was the one that was paying bills, was the one that was putting petrol in the car, there was the one that was even helping us do anything. And then again, things change and we move, and now income has gone back up again. But my wife's energy towards me never changed. When I was making loads of money, when I wasn't making it never changed because we married each other based on our values. And I meet a lot of people who talk about, I don't want to talk about money or credit scores. It's too personal and da-da-da-da-da. But then you're ready to be intimate.
Wow.
But that
Wait, so you're saying on that date, what's your credit score?
I'm saying, what I'm saying is that if
you can be intimate, physically
if you can be physically intimate within the first date, second date, third date, fourth date, why can't you talk about credit score, your life goals, your plans?
Some relationships won't even make it to the second date if they talk about their credit score, because
it's important though. Even if you don't talk about it on the first date, I think you can still talk about like what's important.
The person's relationship with money.
What's your relationship with money?
Yeah.
Like what's the things that are important to you? Are you someone, because this 50-50 thing, let's be honest, it doesn't, especially for a lot of men, the way they understand 50-50 is on finances. But if you understand 50-50 on finances, you must also understand 50-50 on the household
Come
and the
on.
other things.
Oh, say it
So
louder.
so for me, I have this in my wife. So even with like where we contribute, when it comes to the bills, I pay a lot more. But guess what? My wife takes care of a lot more of the
Come
household,
on.
a lot more of the children, a lot more.
Yes.
Not that I can't wash a plate or I can't hoover a house or
Yeah.
I can always help and do that stuff. But we all have our responsibilities and roles. And the value she brings is just as important
Yeah.
to the value I bring.
Mm-hmm.
Because how could I work if the environment I'm working in, especially as me that
Can't
works from home,
exactly.
isn't there? How could I work if my kids are bouncing off the walls
Yeah.
and not being disciplined and not being trained and not having that support and not doing well at school
Yeah.
and work? How could I, if we haven't got all of these other things in place, I couldn't be the person that people see on the
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
So I don't put more value on just money. Money's just one element. Like, you have to look at the whole relationship. And
Yeah.
too many people, when that unequally yoked, I think is so important for us to understand how often we are putting ourselves to people that our core values are not the same. So eventually it's not going to pan out. And I meet people, I meet couples, I sit down with them, and their problem a lot of the time isn't necessarily money. There are things off because of money, but it's because of the lifestyle I've had with money, I want to enjoy my money more. So I don't want a child, or I only want one. And then you're with somebody who wants 4 or 5 because they've come from a big family. These are life decisions.
Yeah.
Even when you think about, I want to rent, I want to buy. Oh, I want to have a property portfolio. Oh, I want to go back to Africa, make a difference.
Yeah. I want to build a house in Africa.
These are conversations that should be, because when you're now 2 is 1 and your money's coming in, and then part of your money is now going to buy land in a country you never want to see or you never want to be in.
Come on.
It's problems.
Yeah.
These are things that can be discussed.
Yeah.
Why are you tying yourself to somebody that wants to go left when you want to go right?
Right. It's not going to end well.
It's not going to end well. Even if me and my wife don't agree on everything, we're always going in the same direction.
Yeah.
One of the things we always make sure, this direction, well, are we going in the same direction? Because if we're not, we need to stop and make sure.
Assess things, yeah.
What is stopping us from, because we need to be walking, because life throws stuff at you
100%.
up and down that you can't prepare for, that you were never ready for.
Yeah.
But if we're going in the same direction, we'll move, as we get blown into the side, we'll move to the same side.
Yeah.
And we'll move back, or we'll work our way back to where we're going.
Yeah.
But if we're pulling in opposite directions, it's going to be a problem. And life is already pulling you, trying to pull you. The world is already trying to pull you. Men, now all these high value men, I don't know where they turned up from. Like,
I've seen this so many times. They're like, I'm a high value man because X, Y, Z.
But I feel like a lot of these men are low on self-esteem. Again, it goes back to loving yourself. If I know who I am in Christ, and I know who Christ made me to be, and I know that Christ died for and husband, love your wife like God loved the church. And he died, and Jesus died for the church. So I should be in a position where I'm ready to sacrifice for my wife and my family. What's up? Where does high value come into that? We're taking worldly principles and we're trying to put them into Christian homes. It doesn't make sense. We are meant to be in the world, not of the world.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's what are the principles that we have that we take outside? So again, with my wife, when we're teaching our kids, it's about what does it mean to be an Asuquo? What are the core values we have? Because these values are the values I want you to pass down to your children.
Yeah.
And not allow, and those values come from the word. They come from being in Christ. And so as long as that is the capture, and that's what we do. And when, again, even with my wife, and we might argue, but we'll go and pray.
Yeah.
Do you know how much
you must pray at the end of the day when everything is said and done?
Do you know how
have prayer in the night?
Do you know how many times me and my wife will have a problem, and then we'll pray, and before you know, it will just cool down. You just be like, "What am I angry for?"
Yeah.
Okay, babe, this is what da. And then, but you said da. I did it. Before you know, everything's peaceful.
Yeah.
But what happens? We get angry, and then we want to go on social media and read about relationships and, but he's doing this. No, let's turn to God.
Yeah.
Let's turn to God. And I'm not trying to over spiritualize it. I'm just talking
but it's
practicals.
So true, because there's times when things come to a head at home, and you have to wonder, if there was no Christ right now.
Come on. How?
How would we survive this day?
How?
If I didn't have to be accountable for my actions.
Exactly.
Right now, if I didn't have to give account to God for the tone or how I spoke or behaved. Yeah, it's so true. So singles, it's important to have those questions, financial discussions, not just how much are you making, but actually, like Emmanuel was saying about the values, the underlying values.
Yeah.
And I find that when you start having those kind of conversations, some people just check out anyway.
Exactly.
Because they're like, what's all this? This is sounding like marriage.
No, and
I'm not even, I'm not trying to go there.
And have your values, the values
Yeah.
that are important to you. But also, when you have your values, ask yourself, do you meet up to the expectation that you
Yeah.
have for someone else?
Exactly.
So if I see something in someone else and I say, if you want to date me, you need to be then I also must be of that same caliber. Otherwise, I can't. I'm being unfair. Do you know
Exactly.
what I mean?
You have to meet the measure with the same measure you're measuring onto others. You have to meet that measure.
And I always tell people that, even with my wife, for example, physically, she wasn't necessarily. I'm very greedy, so I always had bigger girls.
Yeah.
So my wife, when we married, she's a size 6.
Wow.
People are like, man, this is not you. You're normally size 14, size 16.
Your spec.
Your spec. I would have missed out.
Yeah.
And now she's had babies and she's grown, and we're thanking God.
So even on the practical side.
Yeah, exactly. We're thanking God. But it's like some people are missing out on their real life partner because of, oh, you're not 6 foot, or you're not. Don't allow those things to come in.
There's so many girls that see height as a deal breaker. Literally, like if you're not 6 something, if you're 5 foot anything, we can't even talk.
He's 5 foot tall enough to pay the bills. He's 5 foot tall enough to support you.
Yeah.
He's 5 foot tall enough to love you for who you are and make you. And as long as he's comfortable in himself and he's not telling you, oh, don't wear heels. Like me, I'm taller than my wife, but when she wears heels, she's taller than me. I don't mind. I'm closer to her breast. It's fine for me. It's fine for me.
He doesn't mind.
He doesn't mind.
Doesn't mind. It's true. I feel like there's so. And again, it's because we're so bothered about how people perceive us, what those people think.
Exactly.
When you're in your house, who cares who's
Exactly.
closer to the ceiling?
Who cares?
Who really cares?
Exactly.
Thank you so much. I think that there's a lot of food for thought. I'm going to go and assess things as well and reflect, especially in my entrepreneurial journey. A lot of the things that you shared about our values, because it's one thing to be ambitious, but if you don't have the character, when those goals finally are being met, it might end up being an ambush.
Yeah.
When you finally, reach that level that you're trying to get to. So character, values are very important. Ensuring that we don't make any apologies for our foundation.
Exactly.
Being Christ. We don't make apology for that. That's really powerful. I need to ask you about the Wealth Creation Academy.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Is it something that people can get involved in? Yeah.
So the Wealth Creation Academy is my community. So I have a community to basically, I realized that with financial advice, you need to, especially in the UK now, you need to have 100K plus to get a financial advisor. And a lot of the banks no longer offer financial advice.
Wow.
So if you haven't got 100K, where do you go to get the support to get you to 100K? So for me, it was about, let's have a like-minded community of people that need the support, and I can give them the support and guidance of all the years of working as a financial advisor, and give them the support and get them ready. And then when they're ready, we can work with a financial advisor and invest their money and so forth. But there are so many people that have goals and just things in life. So imagine, should I buy a house? Should I not buy a house? Should I go for an investment property?
Yeah.
Oh, should I start a business? If you're having these conversations, sometimes your parents don't even know the answers to these questions because they haven't been.
They haven't made those decisions.
They haven't made those decisions. So it's like, actually, where do I go to get this knowledge from somebody who understands what it's like and the pressures that I'm under and the things that I'm facing? So that's what the community is about. We have regular meetings online, talks. We have meetings in person. I give them content. I have videos on different things. They can ask questions. Then we'll do content on those questions. But ask in a group, because guess what? You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And sometimes someone asks a question and you'll be like, that's a great question, but I never would have known to ask that question. Yeah. But now we're learning together. We're all learning in an environment. And so we're building that. And again, finance is a life skill. So as you start to learn, now you can pass this down to your children. You can pass it down to your relatives. Now you become someone that can add value to your community, the people that you're in close proximity with. So that was the real thing, because people always DM me on social media. Like I'll do a video, then my DMs will be full. I'm like, I haven't got time
It's
to answer
not,
all these questions. Do you know what I mean?
not
But
realistic.
actually, if I've got a group, I've got a community, we can put those questions in and
I'm
answer it
about
all
to
at
join
once.
that community as well. So that is the Wealth Creation Academy. How do people join? Is it like do they like have to sign up?
Yeah, sign up. So you can email the team. So it's team@emmanuelasuquo.com, or you can message me at the E-Man Effect, the E-Man Effect UK on Instagram. You can send us a message, or Emmanuel Asuquo on LinkedIn, and yeah, we can send you. There's a link that we can send to you, and you can join the community. I done my webinar, so I done a 3-day webinar, so you can watch the webinar. Day one we talked about personal finance. Day 2 we talked about side hustles, increasing your income, and day 3 we talked about estate planning. So you can get access to that for free to just get it, and we talk more about the community in there and how you can work with us as well.
Nice, amazing. Thank you so much for coming in. You've covered everything. You've covered relationships. You've covered, finances. You've covered value, faith, everything. I feel like we've had a really well-rounded conversation. And I pray that it blesses whoever needs to hear it. Can you give a final word, however you feel led, as we sign off now, to somebody who is drowning in debt?
Yeah.
And who is feeling paralyzed is the word I would use.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I would say is don't feel sorry for yourself is the number one thing. And don't feel alone. Don't feel ashamed. Like, understand that you were never taught finance. Like, think about it. Like, we know when you get to 18, you either go to university and you get a student loan, student credit card, student overdraft, or you go to work and you get a salary. And yet there's no class. We've got design technology, food technology,
History,
your history, geography. You're taught obviously humanity, maths with Pythagoras, and all of these things. But there's no regular lesson on finance. No. So understand that the system, a lot of the time, the system hopes you get into debt because that's how they can make money. There are people making millions, if not billions, of our bad financial decisions. But you were never taught. So it's not a you problem. Now what you have to do is look at and reach out. So people like myself, there are people out there that can help you, but also there's charities that help for free.
Yeah.
There are debt charities, whether it be Turn to Us, CAP, Christians Against Poverty. So and it's free. I'm CAP trained. I've done the training to be able to do that. So so CAP is a great organization. Obviously Citizens Advice Bureau. There are loads of different charities where you can get debt help for free. Okay, and get the support that you need, and they'll let you know what your options are. But don't suffer in silence, because sometimes the shame and you don't want people to know your business, and you don't want to feel judged, and you might want to go and get a takeout. But now, if people know you're in debt, they'll tell you not to do that, and so you just want to tell anyone so you can live your life, because life is hard enough as it is. Don't suffer in silence. There's help and support out there. There are people that can speak to your creditors, get your monthly payments down to something that's affordable to you. There is help and there is support. And I understand that you are loved. You don't feel judged. Everyone has their weaknesses. But the strength is in saying that I'm weak at this and I need help. That's where that is a strong person. Don't feel weak by it. Feel encouraged and empowered by it.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. And believe it or not, guys, that's not the pinnacle of his wisdom. There's so much more. So head over to that. I think it was called Wealth Creation.
So emmanuelasuquo.com. So you can do
suquo.com to join the academy. Yeah. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining us today. Like, comment. Let me know, your own experiences with with finances, sorry. Let me know what are some of the gems that you're going to try and implement in your own life. I'm definitely going to take on some of the things that Emmanuel shared and start practicalizing them. Some of them I'm already doing, but there's so many more that I'm going to start practicalizing as well. And until next time, God bless you.